this Dallas Stars total feels low.
Yeah, the Stars are kind of like my sneaky spot of the night, but like, I wonder how sneaky they're actually going to be.
I feel like if Hintz, Gurianov, Robertson might be a popular filler. But I don't know, like
if Hintz plays.
Yeah, I don't know if people are going to pay up for Ben Pavelski Radulov with Carolina, Colorado, Tampa Bay. I don't know. I would imagine Boston's going to be low.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever or wherever you're listening or watching us. This is the Awesemo Nhl Dfs strategy show, and I am your host, Michael Clifford, aka Slim Cliffy, and joining me for this drive down Koopa Troopa Beach is the DFS Blue Shell himself, Mr. Josh Harris. Josh, how we doing today, bud?
Pretty good. It was snowing this morning, which I didn't like to see. We got a little tricky 7-gamer here, so hopefully we can give you some winning plays and you guys can win some money.
Yeah, it is a little tricky 7-game slate here tonight. Before we review last night's slate, though, I kind of just want to mention to everybody that if you're not able to watch us on YouTube, because we are here almost every day on YouTube, if you're not able to do that, almost all of our Awesemo YouTube shows are available through the Awesemo Podcast Network. We've got a podcast for every sport, and we're available on every major platform. So head on over to awesemo.com/podcast to check out the latest. Just leave a 5-star rating and a review on one of our podcasts with your Twitter handle or email address, and you'll be eligible to win a free week of Awesemo Plus Platinum. And one winner will be awarded every Friday, and reviews will be eligible for up to 1 year. So get those reviews in, leave that Twitter handle, and maybe you get a free week of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Good luck. Last night was a little bit of a weird night because we had late scratches. I don't want to say late scratches, but warm-up scratches with the Rangers that really changed things. Pavel Buchnevich and Adam Fox scratched right before warm-ups, and then Philly went out and just put up 5 goals on them. Washington laid the beat down last night, but they really didn't do a whole lot because the scoring was so spread out. So what'd you think of the last night's slate? How'd you do anyway?
I would have cashed, but I made a really bad goalie swap. I swapped off Demko because I didn't want to play Chalk Demko because I don't believe in the Canucks. But I used Winnipeg 1. They scored 2 power play goals, and they got 2. Winnipeg 1 got 2 assists on those 2 power play goals. Connor scored both, and then Morrissey. I'm anti-Morrissey. Of course, he had both assists there. And then I used Vegas 1 with Carlson instead of Glass, and that was okay. Like if I kept with Demko, I swapped Demko to Hellebuck. So, I mean, like, I was there. Like the bad swaps get magnified the less lines you play, so I try not to get too high in the highs, too lows on the lows. So I was pretty happy with how my line performed, even though I made the bad swap. So I'm ready for tonight.
Yeah, sometimes you just make those swaps. They don't work out, and you're right. You just kind of have to put it in the mirror, put it behind you. Congrats to any of the winners last night. Let's hope we can produce some winners here tonight. Before we get going, just want to let everybody know that today's show is sponsored by JockMKT. If you haven't heard, JockMKT has turned fantasy sports into a stock exchange. Forget waiting until the end of the game to make money. JockMKT allows you to buy and sell shares of players in real time for real money with guaranteed payouts for all shares at the end of each night. With daily markets for NBA, NHL, and PGA, you can make real money every hour, every minute, every second of any match or game. Use the pregame IPO to pick up shares of your favorite players, then buy, sell, or hold during the game based on your analysis. Download the app to get started and use our exclusive Awesemo promo code AwesemoNHL20 for a $20 bonus on your first deposit. This is an exclusive offer for only the Awesemo community, so make sure to take advantage of it. That's Awesemo NHL20 for a $20 bonus on your first deposit over on JockMKT. And while you're here, if you could just like and subscribe, help us get this show popular, help us grow this channel a little bit so we can keep bringing these almost every day. So looking at tonight's slate, like you said, 7 games, and there's a number of teams on back-to-backs. And that's the first thing I kind of want to mention to anybody that might be watching us out there. Buffalo on a back-to-back, Washington on a back-to-back, Boston and Pittsburgh both on back-to-backs. Like there are teams where we just don't know the lineup. Like we can have a pretty good idea off of what happened last night, but we just don't know the exact lineup going into tonight's game. So that's one thing that we obviously have to keep a watch on. I would say that the other thing that we have to keep a little bit of a watch on here tonight is some changes in Buffalo and New Jersey. Like I know, like Buffalo just got rampaged last night, 6-0 against Washington. I forget if they had 10 shots. Like I'm sure they did, but like at one point I think they had 9 shots after the second period or something like that. And then New Jersey, it seems like they have a different lineup almost every game that they go out there. So, is there anything in particular that you're concerned about tonight? Like, is there a guy that might be hurt, or is there a lineup lineup situation that you're worried about, or is this just pretty much straightforward? Just wait till you get the news.
In this game or the whole slate?
The whole slate entirely.
Yeah. So like the one thing I wish we had news on is Dallas, like Rupe Henslick, because if he's in, I think that total's a little bit low. Or Tampa Bay is not like an exact, defensive juggernaut. So I wish we had news there because they have a couple appealing lines. So I guess because it's not a 7 p.m. start, I'm a little bit worried about it. But hopefully we get news. We probably won't get news until pregame skate. So you might be able to get secondary Dallas a little bit lower owned. So, and then like another thing with like the Devils, like they have a high total, but they're a very bad team. So I kind of worry that they're super cheap and they fit with the expensive people, that their ownership's going to be pretty high. So it makes me nervous when Devils are chalk because I am not confident in them at all.
Yeah, that's something that we were talking about before the show, that maybe that ownership comes up because you're right. Just about all their lines fit in with all the expensive lines elsewhere on the slate. Just want to give a shout out to Lenny Levy. Just joined the YouTube chat here. Welcome to Team Awesemo, Lenny. And to celebrate Lenny joining Team Awesemo, we're going to break down Buffalo and New Jersey for him. So let's do that. We're going to get to our first game here. The Buffalo Sabres, like I said, they played last night. They have a 2.5 implied goal total. They're going into New Jersey, and as Josh mentioned, they have a fairly high implied total right now, sitting at 3.1. Like we said, Buffalo playing last night, so there's no guarantee the lineup they had last night is the lineup that they're going to have tonight. But they didn't really change their lines much, so we can kind of assume that they're going to go with something similar to last night anyway. So, like you said, New Jersey is kind of a pushover. They're not great, so there might be something on both sides here. What do you have, Josh?
Yeah. This game is just tough. Like, a lot of these games are tough to break down. It's just like there's not many appealing matchups from a DFS standpoint. So you assume that the Devils stick with their lines for morning skate. You're going to have Miles Morningwood, shout out Buddha. He might rise up tonight against it's pulled together. Wood, Zaka, and Palmieri. Like that's going to be the popular line tonight, right? They have 2 players on power play 1. They're very cheap. They're 11-9. They're going to get the matchup against Taylor Hall, Riley Sheehan, and Tage Thompson, which, you look at the name value and you're just like, that doesn't do anything for me. But they have actually a pretty good defensive line. Then the side on the Devils that I really want to, if I was going to go to the Devils, is going to be this Jack Hughes line. They're going to get, the depth, the bottom 6 of the Sabres. Andreas Janssen, min price, Jack Hughes, 4,800, and Jesper Bratt, 4,400. So, like, the power play correlation's a mess on that line. Janssen's minutes have been a concern. Like, a couple games ago, he only played 7 minutes. But he's min priced. Hughes gets the power play 1, and they get the bottom 6 of the Sabres. So, if the Zaka line is going to be chalky, I would imagine you're going to get the Hughes Bratt Janssen line at lower ownership. And I think if I had to use the Devils, it'd be that line. And then, they have the Zajac line going out against the Stahl line. If you need like a really cheap filler, I think you can go to NJ3 as well. But I think, for cheap lines like that, I think there is a few other spots that we'll get to that I prefer, but I don't mind them in MME. And then on the Buffalo side, if the Zaka line is going to be chalk against the Sheehan line, I don't mind going to the Hall, Sheehan, Tage Thompson line. They're, Sheehan, Tage Thompson, 5,300, Taylor Hall is 5,000. So that line is under 10,500. You get Taylor Hall at, as cheap as he's been in the past few years. Yeah, his line mates aren't great, but the Devils are one of the worst teams in the NHL. So I think they can exploit this matchup a little bit.
Yeah. On the New Jersey side, I'm kind of with you on the Hughes line. I think that's probably the line that I'm going to target the most. I think Wood. It was Wood. No, Jesper Bratt. I'm pretty sure got some power play time last game as well, and they've been really good as a line this year. We're up to 85 minutes with 3 of them as a sample. Off the top of my head, that'd be about 8 or 9 games worth, which is not small. 2.6 expected goals for, 64.4% expected goals share. Like, those are really, really good numbers. And they're actually scoring too, 2.9 actual goals for. Like, they're exceeding their expected goals rate. So I do like that Hughes, Janssen, Bratt line as a filler. Like you said at the top, though, the concern here is ownership. Like, I could see a lot of Devils getting into double digits tonight, just because they fit with Washington, they fit with Pittsburgh, they fit with Carolina and Colorado and all those teams. So, that's the one thing I would say about New Jersey is just beware of that ownership. I'm probably using that line. On the Buffalo side, I'm not in so much on the Sheehan line as I am Skinner, Lazar, and Middlestat. What I will say is that I'm not stacking them. Like, I'm just flat out not stacking a Buffalo line. I just can't do it. I'm not going out and putting 25% Curtis Lazar and Casey Middlestat in my lineups. It's just not happening. But Middlestat, Skinner, and Lazar have actually been a good line this year. Nearly 50 minutes together, 55 and a half expected goal share. Like, Lazar and Skinner, just in general, have played well together this year, with or without Middlestat. So, in a bigger sample, Lazar and Skinner together, 52.4% expected goal share, Lazar and Skinner on the ice. Like, those guys have actually been good this year. So if you need to dump down super cheap, I don't mind like a Lazar Skinner too, man. I really don't. I think like New Jersey doesn't present any tough matchups. Like, if you're going to play Buffalo at all ever again without, like, for the rest of the season, because Jack Eichel's probably not coming back, New Jersey's probably the only team you're going to be playing them against, right? So if you're ever going to play the Buffalo Sabres, it's probably going to be against the Devils. And I take it when you can get Lazar and Skinner for like a $5,500 two-man or something like that. And that way you can get all your Colorado guys in your lineup. So, like, I'm not going crazy. I think I might have like one Lazar and a couple Skinners across all my lineups, but that's it. But I do think there's some value in getting them super cheap at no ownership and what is as good a matchup as they're going to get all year. But I'm with you mostly on the Hughes, Bratt, Janssen line for New Jersey. On the blue line, nothing for me from the Sabres. I'm just correlating with Subban for New Jersey, and I might dump down to like Sami Vatanen or something, but that's about it. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess Rasmus Dahlin is super cheap, 3,900. Rasmus Ristolainen, 3,900. Like, that's just too cheap. I guess maybe for cash you could play Dahlin, but like, I don't know. Like, I really wish this game wasn't on the slate, but it is. So it's definitely just a correlation thing for me.
Yeah, kind of wish this was one of those 6 p.m. Eastern games, right? Yeah. In net, I assume Mackenzie Blackwood is going to get some ownership. Do you have any interest on either side of the goalies here?
I guess I do like Blackwood. I just feel like he's going to be overowned just because Buffalo's coming off a shutout. They're back-to-back on the road. They're without Eichel. Their lineup is terrible. So, like, I feel like people are just going to be like, oh, Blackwood, and put him in. Like, it's kind of not like the Demko situation last night where Demko's actually, like, really good. And, the Devils, like, the Canucks are bad, but, like, Demko is playing at a level like he was in the playoffs. It's like this New Jersey team in front of him. Like, I'm just scared that like from a shot volume standpoint, he's going to give up 2 goals on 19 shots and still win the game, but he won't, exceed value at all.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Share those concerns as well. I think Jonas Johansson kind of makes sense. Like if New Jersey is going to be as chalky as we think they're going to be, and he comes in at 5%, I think he does make sense in MME. I wouldn't chase him in 1 to 3 or anything like that. Yeah, I'm with you. Okay, I think that's it for that game. We can move it along to the next one. So we'll do exactly that. The New York Islanders have a 2.9 implied goal total, and they're going into Washington. The Caps have a 2.7 implied goal total. As I said, Washington just played last night. They beat the brakes off the Sabres tonight. They're at home to the Islanders. Ilya Samsonov, because it was Vanacek last night, right? So it's going to be Samsonov here tonight. We've been on Washington too a little bit lately. They've done well enough, but they haven't really smashed. The problem with Washington, it seems lately, is their elite guys aren't smashing. Like something like 16 goals in the last 3 games, and I don't think there's a single 3-point game from their top, from their top line. So they're scoring. They're just not getting there for us DFS wise. And this is a matchup, honestly, of 2 of the better defensive teams in the entire league. Some big names, some low prices, some guys that we probably need to know. Josh, why don't you just take it away and let us know what you like?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a defensive. It's going to be a checking neutral zone type of game. So, like 1 to 3 lineups, I'm probably not even going to have anything from this game. But I think there are some spots that you can, if you're making 20 to 150, that you can definitely MME. Obviously, these top lines, fully correlated power play. Kiefer Bellows makes the top line way cheaper than, because Lee's hurt. He's probably half the price of what Lee would be. And he's been scoring, so I'm sure, like as a cheap one-off, he may be popular. And anytime you can go into Ovechkin, I guess you do that. Really, for me, if I had to go to a line, I think it would probably be the Islanders' second line: Bavilier, Nelson, Bailey, especially if they get matched up against the Panik line with Sheary. I know Sheary's been moving around the lineup a bunch, so I don't even know if that's going to stick, but from a 5-on-5 matchup standpoint, that's the line I would want to attack if I was going against the Capitals. But really, this is just MME. You want to do some power play stacks. You want to either power play, that's fine. Some Islanders 2, some Islanders 1. Caps 1 is fine. I mean, I don't really like going into the Barzal line too much, but without Lee, I think you can. That second line going against JG Pajot is kind of a wash. So, like, really, I'm underweight on this game as a whole, but I think you can definitely take some stabs in MME.
Yeah, I'm with you that I don't really have a ton from this game. I have one. I think I have a 1 or 2 Washington 2 stacks, and maybe like I think I have 1 5-man, some sort of onslaught. I don't want to say it's a Josh stack because it's a 5-man, not a 6-man. So I do have a 5-man Washington stack in there, but on a normal 7-game slate, I would probably be 25 to 30% Washington somehow, some sort of mix. I'm probably going to be 10-15% on this slate, and maybe only 1 or 2 shares of like Islanders 2 or Islanders 3. I don't have anything from the Islanders top line. Here's the thing. I think they're going to be not popular, but with Kiefer Bellows at only 3,200 and he scored 3 goals in 2 games since getting called up, like I think they're going to get a little bit of ownership. And like, I'm not a big fan of Kiefer Bellows. Like he's a shooter. I want to get like, that's what he is. And that actually might work well on that line because he effectively just needs to replace Anders' Lee shooting, right? I just kind of worry about the ownership on that top line. I don't think it'll be high per se, but this is a brutal matchup. Like both teams are top 10 by expected goals against. So the Caps have been great defensively over the last few weeks, and neither take a lot of penalties, right? So, and neither draw a lot of power plays. Like this could be a 1 or 2 power play game in total. So I don't really like the stacks that we've talked about in recent games. Like, we've done like Ovechkin, Kuznetsov, Rana, Carlson, those types of stacks I think are not in play here for me tonight. For me, I think if I'm stacking out of this game, I'm focusing more just the 5-on-5 lines. Like if I stack, it'll be Backstrom and Ovechkin with Karlsson, or it'll be Kuznetsov and Vrana with Karlsson, or something along those lines. I don't think I'll be stacking across power plays for Washington here tonight. One thing that is kind of catching my eye is Islanders 3, just because Wahlstrom is cheap and he's jumped up to the top power play now, so you get a little bit of that power play exposure. I do like Islanders 3 kind of like as a little filler, but I'm with you. Like I said, I might have one Islanders 2, maybe one Islanders 3, a couple Caps 1s. That's about it. I don't have a lot from this game. Defenseman, I like Noah Dobson. It looks like he's still out. Our boys, the other Sebastian Aho, is he in play here tonight? I don't think he is because he didn't get a lot of minutes last night. But what do you say? Or not last night. It was a couple games ago they played.
Couple games. Yeah, I mean, this is just tough. Like you want to, have cheap one-offs. I think Dmitry Orlov on the cap side is still min priced for the past 3 months. His price hasn't moved. I think you can play him. Sebastian Fiveho for if you're MMing, you got to put a 5 next to his name so you don't get a ton of the Carolina Aho. I guess his minutes are a concern. So if you want to go there, that's fine. You want to make a double Aho lineup, go for it. But the one-offs for me would be on the cap side, Orlov for Justin Schultz. And if you make a couple mid-range lineups and you have a lot of salary left over for that final spot, I think Karlsson's fine. But other than that, I'm really underweight on this game.
Yeah, I'm with you. Again, fairly underweight here. Goalies, do you like either of the goalies here?
So I guess I'd go to the cheaper one here, Varlamov at 7,400. He's going to see a little bit more shots too. What worries me is if the Caps do get onto the power play. So I know I like to go to the cheaper ones, and I just said I prefer Varlamov at 7,400, but I also don't mind Samsonov at 7,800. The one thing that does concern me is the shot volume in this game. If I'm going to play someone around that price, I want them to have a chance at getting to the shot or the saves bonus, and I just don't see it in this game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm just correlating in the couple lineups that I have, and that's probably going to be about it. All right, let's move it along to our next one then. We're running it back from last night. The Boston Bruins have a 2.8 implied goal total. They're going into Pittsburgh. The Penguins also with a 2.8 implied goal total. Couple little housekeeping notes. I noticed Brett Ritchie was back on the top power play unit for Boston. He had gotten the boot there for a few games. He was back last night. Boston 1, I think, is the highest priced line I've ever seen on DraftKings. And I've been playing, this is my 7th year of DFS. At 25-1, I think Boston 1 is the highest priced line I've ever seen. So naturally, they're not really getting much ownership. We have them under 6% on a 7-game slate. So ownership might say play Boston 1, but they'll cost you over half your salary. Pittsburgh put up 4 goals last night, but they got kind of run over at 5-on-5. So I think there's cases for both sides here. What are your cases, Josh?
Yeah, Boston Bruins 25-1 on the road against Crosby. I would still have pause if they were 25-1 at home against the Sabres. This is just a bad matchup. And it's they're priced out. If you want to get to them in MME, they're going to be low owned. And it's, I think, in MME, you can have some. It's just how many lines can you fit with them? You're going to have a lot of Skinner and Middlestad, right? Or a Colorado 3 or something like that. 25-1's crazy. And even this Pittsburgh top line is over 22,000. So it's just tough. This is it's hard for me to get there. This game happened last night. They're both insanely priced up. They are fully correlated on the power play. So these top lines are an MME play for me. I think in this game, I maybe would get to a pit 2, Malkin, Kapanen, and Rodriguez. I know Rodriguez scored last game, and you can't expect that every game, but they're 13-2 is a line going into what just happened? They're going into, the bottom 6 of the Bruins. They're going to get the Coyle line, which, they haven't been great. They're, have a 2.51 expected goals against. So I don't mind going there in like a 20 max. But I think these top lines, before I get there, it would probably be at least 20 lineups or 150 lineups before I started building them in. 1 to 3, it's just really hard to land here, especially with Colorado one on the slate playing the Ducks. So I don't mind these second lines like DeBrusque, Krejci, Smith, or Rodriguez, Malkin, Kapanen. And if you're building under 20 lineups, I think those are the spots you can go. But anything else in this game, I think, is MME only.
Yeah, it's just such a tough situation because it almost feels like DK is intentionally pushing us away from this game, right? Like you said, Boston at 25-1 at home in a great matchup is almost unplayable, right? Like Boston at 25-1 on the road is straight up unplayable. But if they're going to come in at 3, 4, 5% on a 7-game slate, like they are just flat out one of the best lines in hockey, and they ran over the Crosby. Like they absolutely ran over the Crosby line last night. If I'm not mistaken, with Patrice Bergeron on the ice, Pittsburgh didn't have a shot attempt, not an attempt, let alone a shot on goal. So, like, do I want to pay 22 and change for a Pitt 1 team that only got there on the power play and with an empty netter, and got just completely run over? Like, not really, but I am. Do I want to play a Boston 1 team that's 25.1K on DraftKings on the road? No, I don't really want to, but at 3 or 4 or 5% ownership, yeah, maybe I'm going to get in a lineup, but it's one of those things where, like, you're right. Like, both top lines look like bad matches, bad matchups, bad pricing, bad everything. But on a 7-game slate where there's one super obvious smash spot, if you don't want to go like all in on that super obvious one smash spot, there are only so many other places you can go. Boston, Pittsburgh being one of them. So I'm probably going to have one Boston 1 lineup because there are super cheap players that I do like here tonight. And I'm going to go in. I'm probably going to come in at about the field on Pittsburgh. So maybe around 15% or something like that. I'm not going to go haywire on them. Probably going to be about the field on both top lines here. But I like you mentioning Pittsburgh's second line because that's what I wanted to focus on here more than anything. Over the last 3 weeks, when Boston's top line is off the ice, the team has a 44% expected goal share. Now, you expect teams to be worse with their top lines off the ice, but last year Boston was 51% expected goal share with their top line off the ice. This year it's 44%. It's been 44% over the last 3 weeks, I should say. It's been a real rough stretch for that Boston depth lately, and Malkin and Kapanen have started to look better and better over the last few weeks. So I do like, Malkin and Kapanen 2 mans. Throw in Malkin maybe with a Pitt 1 stack or something like that. I do like Pittsburgh 2 a bit here tonight. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm going to be about the field on both Boston 1 and Pitt 1, and I'm going to have a reasonable amount of Malkin and Kapanen on Pitt 2. On the blue line, man, I hate to say it, but it might be Cody Ceci night again. Over 20 minutes again for the 3rd straight game. Didn't really do a lot with him, but did hit the block bonus the game before that. I think I might be going back to Cody Ceci. Is there anything on the blue line you like here tonight?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, like, the goalies in this game. This is why, like, I'm kind of on this game and at me. Like, I don't know who Dan Darth Vlader is, or like Casey DeSmith is the backup. So, like, I don't know. I honestly don't know who Dan Vladar is. Like, he's their 3rd or 4th stringer. So, okay, on the blue line, I agree with you, Cody Ceci. Man, on the Bruins side, I see people going Grizzlock. They're chanting. They got their pitchforks out. I just don't like him. Like, if you want to play him, that's fine. Like, I just don't think he's a great one-off. I think if you're playing Boston 1, you correlate with him. I just don't think he's a great one-off. So come, burn me for that. Matheson's still in, like, no man's land for pricing, but if you want to one-off him 3,600, I think that's okay. I prefer him, like, around 3,000. But really, Letang is a correlation play, and, like, he's super expensive. Like, to do Pitt 1 and Letang, like, it's just just wild. That's like you're getting like almost 30,000. So like this game is just MME darts all over the place. So 1 to 3 lineups, I'm not sure I'll have anyone on the blue line here besides a possible CC one-off.
Cody Cece, man, I'm telling you, he's gonna come through for us. I mean, like he had the shot block bonus a couple of games ago. It's not like he can block shots and he can shoot. So anybody playing 21, 22, 23 minutes is going to catch my attention. So Cody Cece again. All right. Before we move it along, just want to let everybody know that we have free content on the site today, as we normally do. We usually have some free stuff for you guys. So if you're just watching this YouTube show for your first time or you're not familiar with the site, we have our NHL player projections up. So head on over to Awesemo.com, check out our NHL player projections for the night. If you already have your own NHL projections and you want to look at some other stuff, we have PGA golfer rankings for the week. And we have NBA ownership projections for tonight. So if you want to get into some basketball or some PGA, we got some free content for you up on Awesemo.com right now. Let's skip along to our next game, one that's probably going to feature a ton of ownership on one side. We have the Carolina Hurricanes with a 3.4 implied goal total going into Detroit. Detroit has a 2.3 implied goal total. James Reimer was confirmed to start. Thomas Greiss, I think he's going to start, but that's obviously, I don't think Detroit ever confirms their goalie before warm-ups anyway. Bobby Ryan is out for the Red Wings tonight, and they said Evgeny Svechnikov is going to step into the lineup and take his spot, at least on the power play. Dylan Larkin is a game-time decision, but they said they expect him to play. But again, this has been a weird season, and we've seen scratches at all time, pretty much all through the night, every night. So Larkin expected to play, but not guaranteed. Bobby Ryan out. Carolina probably going to carry a ton of ownership here, Josh. So why don't you tell us what you like from the Hurricane side and if you like anything from Detroit?
Yeah, so normally on the Hurricane side, we've always been on the same page with like Niederreiter, Trocheck, Netchus. Trocheck's still out, so now Aho slides in between Netchus and Niederreiter, and I like this line. Don't get me wrong, I like them. But I think they are going to be very popular tonight. They're going to go up against the Larkin line if he's in with Mantha and Fabry. I think that's a pretty good matchup. I mean, any matchup really against the Red Wings is a pretty good matchup. So I think they're going to have ownership there. I don't mind going to Carolina one. You just have to be aware of the ownership. Where I think I'm leaning, even though I'm not a big Jordan Stahl guy, I think I'm leaning towards the second line of Stahl, Svechnikov, and Jesper Fast. They're going to get the Gagne, Nemestikov, and Zadina line. And you look at this, Detroit 2 numbers. They have in a 62-minute sample, so probably, like 6-7 games. 42% Corsi for percentage, a 1.52 expected goals for, and then a 2.81 expected goals against, and 12 high danger chances against per 60. Like Nemestikov, Gagne, Zadina, it's just like they might actually be worse than their numbers are, and like Stahl and Svechnikov, they're just going to run them over. Like almost any line is going to run that line over, but especially like Stahl, Svechnikov. Like Stahl's a really good possession player. He doesn't shoot much, but he dishes the puck well. I'm a big Svechnikov guy. I mean, I'm a Rangers fan, so I was pretty bummed to see Foss go to the Hurricanes at 3,000. He's not really a third wheel that's going to hamper your lineup. He can do some stuff. So I really like this Carolina second line. I think it's going to be lower owned than Aho and Netchus. Also, if you want a power play stack, the Canes, I think that is a scenario where you can go. I really like Dougie on the blue line. And since like the first 3 games that we mentioned is we're like, oh, it's just kind of MME only. I think as much as it pains me, I think you can use this Detroit top line tonight. Especially if Larkin's a game time decision and that news doesn't come out until pregame slate or pregame warmups. I think you can play Larkin, Mantha, Fabry. I know the power play correlation isn't great, but like Blashill is the worst. But I think Larkin, Mantha, Fabry is a line you can go to. I'm not sure how much ownership the Wings are going to have. They've endlessly burned people all season. So, but their price is reasonable. You could fit them in. So I really like the Canes top 6 tonight. As an ownership play, I like Carolina 2 better than Carolina 1, but I wouldn't hate you for playing Carolina 1. They're definitely in consideration for me. And then, Detroit 1 for me.
Yeah. Okay. I want to talk about Detroit 1 first because I was super excited to play them tonight, which I can't believe I'm saying because it's the Detroit Red Wings. But they're coming in way over owned compared to our top 2 stack. Like we have them as a roughly 8% top 2 stack, and they're coming in over 11% in their ownership share, which kind of surprises me. Because like you talk about lack of power play correlation, Larkin and Mantha haven't played the same power play all year. It's not a great matchup. Carolina, even though they're missing a couple players, are still, a cup contender. That I'm going to wait for the ownership because we do 3 or 4. I don't want to say 3 or 4. We do 2 to 4 ownership runs every day. So there'll be another one probably in an hour or so whenever I'm done supper. So I'll check again then if it's come down. But if Mantha and Fabry and Larkin are going to be over 10%, I'm probably going to stay off of them. But for now, I have some Mantha Fabry Juice 3-mans because they're relatively cheap. They're all in the same power play unit. So you can fit in, your Colorados and your Washingtons and your stuff and stuff like that. So that's kind of where I was looking on Detroit, but I'm with you on Carolina side. I love that Stahl Svechnikov fast matchup. They are just like, I don't want to say they are because it's hockey. You never know what's going to happen, but they're probably going to steamroll that Detroit second line. Like you said, Stahl doesn't shoot, but he's on the top PP unit, and like he's a good distributor. Like he is a good passer, good playmaker. The 3-point bonus is always in play for him, just through assists alone. And like you said, Jesper Fast doesn't hurt at 3K on the wing. So I'm with you. Not so much on Carolina 1, though I do have some power play stacks. So I do have some lineups where I've mixed in Aho with Stahl and Svetch or Natchez with Stahl and Svetch or something like that. But yeah, I'm on Carolina 2. Dougie Hamilton. I'm pretty much either going up to Dougie or all the way down to Shea. Like I'm not spending a lot of time on the Slavin Pesci tier. I think Slavin and Pesci are guys, just to get to defenseman here. I think Slavin and Pesci are guys that you would one off. I don't think they're necessarily guys that I would put into my Carolina stacks.
Yeah, and they're kind of like mid-priced where it's kind of weird for one-off unless you build that way. So I think Dougie is the premier defenseman on the slate tonight at 6,900. And I agree. If I don't have Dougie, if I don't have the space for Dougie, I'm going all the way down to Brady Shea. On the Detroit side, I'm not really in on much of the defenseman. I just can't get there.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm mostly just correlating other than like I said, maybe some one-off Slavin or Pesci and other lineups. All right. Moving along, we have the Arizona Wild. Oh, my God. What day is it today? Arizona Coyotes with a 2.3 implied goal total going into Minnesota. The Wild have a 3.1 implied goal total. This was a game from a couple nights ago. I think Kaprizov had the hat trick. Was that against Arizona?
I don't remember.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, man. It's like
blending,
especially where the teams keep playing each other so much. Like all the games seem the same. But yeah, 4-1 win Sunday night. Kaprizov. I think that was the night. No, that was Friday night. Kaprizov scored with 49 seconds left or whatever it was for the hat trick. But either way, 4-0, 4-1 wins back to back over Arizona. Same team here again tonight. Marcus Foligno is out for Minnesota. Looks like he's going to be out for a little bit. Arizona, they largely kept together Garland, Keller, and Schmaltz in their last game. But going into Minnesota is a really bad matchup for them. And again, with Arizona lineups, we really don't know exactly what the lines are going to be because they just don't have beat writers who cover the team. So, tell us what you like here. First, I'll start with Arizona. Is there anything on the Arizona side you like here, and then take it to Minnesota?
I kind of want to get behind the line that's going to see the Hartman, Fiala, Greenway line, but like the way it's currently constituted, it's going to be the Dvorak line with Phil Kessel. I think that 2-man's fine, but they're on the line with Lawson Krause, and like why? Like, there's no one better. Like, even put Derek Brassard there. Like,
is he better?
He's on the power play.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, okay, I see where you're getting at now.
So, like, I don't know. Like, I don't mind Dvorak as like a one-off going against the Hartman line, but like on the Arizona side, the Schmaltz, Garland, Keller line, if that's what the line, they're going to get the Eriksson Ek line. And yeah, it's with Parisi and Bustad, but like Eriksson Ek is just an animal defensively. And these, like a Coyote, the Coyotes just have not been good. So I think obviously I'm on the Minnesota side here. I just, maybe have a Dvorak one-off. Maybe I'll have like Dvorak, Garland if I want a little mini on the power play, but like that doesn't really excite me. So it's probably just going to be a Dvorak one-off. On the Minnesota side, like I've been off Kaprizov, Zuccarello, Rask all season, and it feels bad saying that I'm going to jump on now. Like it's just like I'm going to put my tail between my legs here. Just kidding. I'm not playing him tonight, but I wouldn't fault you if you did. I honestly wouldn't fault you if you did. With Rask there, it really brings down the price. If you want to, he's 2,800. It's Victor Rask, but like if he gets an assist and a couple shots on goal and a block, I think he hits value. I think they're going to go against, the bottom six of the Coyotes, like Pitlick, Broussard, Kajula. It's just like, that's just brutal. So like that heavily favors the Wild. And then like Hartman, Fiala, Greenway doesn't really interest me as a line. I think, if I don't really want to power play stack the Wild either because they're awful on the power play, but I think Fiala one-off is fine. And the third line, it has some bad correlation, but I don't mind an Eriksson Ek Parisi mini. But for me, this is all about Kaprizov, Rask, Zuccarello. They're kind of priced in there where, like, if I'm trying to jam Colorado, you obviously can't fit them. Boston, Pitt, you're out. But, like, in a mid-range construction, you can fit them in pretty easily.
Yeah, you can fit them in pretty easily. And I wanted to just get back to the Arizona side for a second. Because Keller and Schmaltz and Garland have typically been pretty good this year, right? Whenever they've been together, they have been relatively good. We were picking on them earlier in the year, when they were at home because they'd always get the depth matchups, and it was actually working well for us. Tonight they go into Minnesota. They're probably going to get the Eriksson Ek, Bjugstad, Parisi line. I'm assuming like Eriksson Ek typically takes opposing top matchups. Now, if we were going into Minnesota and they're taking Eriksson Ek, Greenway, and Foligno, I would say absolutely no Arizona for me. But with Parisi and Bjugstad on the wings, like those are big downgrades defensively over Foligno and Greenway. So, like, I kind of want to get a little bit of Arizona in my lineups tonight. You know what I mean? Like, because we have no ownership on them. We have Nick Schmaltz under 1%. Yeah. So, like, if you're in an MME, you could put in 3 Arizona 1 lineups and be over the field, right? So, like, I think I'm going to have 1 out of 20 be Arizona 1 because they have been really good. And I think, like, going into Minnesota, this is as good as the matchup as it's going to get for them this year. They won't get a better matchup. So, like, I'm not going to say go out and you have to play them or that there's some super sneaky value stack here tonight. Where the Eriksson Ek has seen such a big downgrade defensively for his wingers, I think Arizona 1 makes a little bit of sense here tonight. If you're playing 20 lineups, play 1. If you're playing 150 lineups, play like 3 to 5 or something like that. You don't need a ton to get way over the field. I just think it's worth it considering that they are together and it's a little bit of an easier matchup. But you're right. In general, I think it's more about Minnesota for me. I'm going to be more on the Zuccarello, Kaprizov line. I just want to get that good matchup, that good matchup. Christian Dvorak is a one-off. I have him as well. I like that call. He's one of my favorite one-off centers on the slate. Looking on the blue line, for me, probably just correlating my Minnesota guys, and that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is a 7-game slate, and these matchups, there's a lot of just like brutal, like, oh, I don't know if I want to play these guys, so it does make sense to get some Coyotes in there. Just, it is Nick Bjugstad and Zach Parisi, not the big boys, so it does make a little bit of sense to MME. Yeah, I'm in agreement with you on just correlating here. I don't like Jonas Bardine 5,700 just priced out for me. I think if I had a one-off somebody, it'd probably be Jared Spurgeon at 4,400. He's $900 cheaper than Dumba at 53. Suter, I don't really want a one-off. He's more of a correlation play. Same on the Yotes side. Chikrin, if you're jamming in some Yotes. That's really about it. You want to punt maybe Jordan Osterley, but that's about it.
In net, I'm assuming we're anti-Ranta fans tonight.
Always a Ranta fan. He's going to see the volume. I also don't mind Kakinen at 8,200. Normally, I don't like going up over 8,000, but this is I think he has shutout potential.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do like Ranta as a cheap 7K goalie here tonight on the road, though. All right. To celebrate the NBA second half, before we get to the rest of the games, we have a special deal for all first-time users of Awesemo Plus. Get 50% off an Awesemo Plus weekly pass when you use the promo code SHAMROCK at checkout. That's $15 for full Awesemo Plus access to all DFS sports, including NBA, PGA, NHL, NASCAR, MMA, soccer, esports, and our new March Madness DFS package. This offer is for first-time users only and is only valid through March 17th, which is tomorrow. So if you want to get half off an Awesemo Plus weekly pass and you're a first-time user, head on over to awesemo.com and use the promo code SHAMROCK. Start winning, stop guessing, join Awesemo Plus today. All right, we have about 10 minutes and we have 2 games left, so let's get to them. Tampa Bay, 3.1 implied goal total going into Dallas. The Dallas Stars have a 2.3 implied goal total. As he is almost every game, Rope Hintz looks like he's a game-time decision for Dallas. They've stacked the top line with Ben Pavelski and a returning Alex Radulov, but they're all winger on DraftKings. Probably something to like from both sides here. So why don't you just take it away, Josh?
Yeah, so Dallas at home, usually they send out their top line against, the third or fourth line. So they're going to get the Barclay, Goodrow, Blake Coleman, Tyler Johnson matchup. I'd be more concerned if it was Gord, Coleman, Goodrow. I also don't really like to play Dallas for 5-on-5, but I think this top line, you can. Like, Tampa Bay is obviously a very good team. They're probably going to end up being the favorites to win the Cup again. But in MME, especially because they're 3 wingers, it's not like it's a 2C, 1-wing lineup where you can get away with because of the utility spot. I think as a 3-wing line is a nice way to get different on the slate. They have a really small sample, but their numbers are really good. I think you can go there. I wish Radulov was on the top power play. If Rupe is out, I think maybe Radulov slides in. It's all dependent on that. Or maybe he is even in. I think Jason Robertson might get bumped. So that top line's okay with 3 wings going against the bottom of Tampa. If Hintz is in, I kind of like the second line. I know they get the Gord, Killorn, Stamkos matchup, which has been very good defensively. But you get Hintz power play 1. I really like Gurianov as a play. Like, if this was a bigger slate with better matchups, I'd probably be under the field on the Stars here. But I feel like this slate itself, I think you can get to some Stars here, even in 20 max, or they might even be in consideration for me on 1-3. And on the Tampa side, as much as I like Dallas too, I also like the Tampa second line. I don't think I'm going to be alone here. I think they're going to be popular. Killorn, Gord, Stamkos. You want a power play stack, I think that's fine. It's the Tampa top line also in play. They are going to get the Fasca line, which is kind of like a not the best matchup. But Cogliano and Blake Como don't really do much for me defensively. So I think you can get to the top line. It's still a little bit tough to pay $6,000 for Cirelli. So I think if I was going to go to Tampa, I'd do something like Point Palat Killorn, Point Palat Stamkos, something like that. And I think, Hedman's really expensive, $7,000, but I think in the power play stacks, you put him in.
Yeah. I agree with you on Hedman. The thing about Tampa Bay, we talk a lot about time zone touting here on Awesemo.com. Tampa Bay played at home last night and had to cross over into Texas for the Dallas game tonight. So pretty quick turnaround. Again, traveling time zone. Like hockey players are just freaks of habit, and throwing them off by an hour could change a lot. Like we've seen, a couple weeks ago, we saw Calgary go into Ottawa and get slaughtered. We saw Edmonton go into Vancouver on a back-to-back on the road and get dumped. So that's honestly one thing that's keeping me off Dallas here. It's just their schedule of late, and off Tampa Bay, sorry. And Dallas has been better defensively. So I don't have any Tampa stacks here tonight, believe it or not. If I were to stack Tampa, I'd probably focus on the power play. Dallas is still among the top 10 teams in penalties, even though they have been taking fewer of late. They still take more than the league average. And Dallas also switched up their power plays. This morning at practice, they had Heiskanen and Klingberg on the top unit with Pavelski, Ben, and Robertson. And then Lindell running the second unit with Faksa, Kiviranta, Gurianov, and Radulov. So the only real correlation you're going to get is between Ben and Pavelski on the top PP unit. But I would still try to include Radulov in some of my stacks. I know it's winger on DK, but that's actually going to make it a little bit more unique. On the blue line, again, I have not much from Tampa Bay. From Dallas, I do have some interest in Lindell now that he's running that PP2 unit alone. I think he makes a nice one-off from this team if you're not stacking Dallas.
Yeah, I like him with Gurianov. I like him with Kiviranta. I think you can do a couple minis there. I'd probably play Heiskanen over Klingberg as a one-off. I know they're both on power play 1, but if you can only get one in for power play stacks, I'd play Klingberg as a one-off. I'd probably play Heiskanen. And then maybe if I needed a under $4,000 punt, Eric Chernak is okay. But other than that, it's just correlation for me.
Yeah. And Jake Ottinger, are we playing Jake?
Yeah, I mean, if you consider Ronta 7,000 on the road, I think you got to consider Ottinger 7K at home.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. All right, few minutes left, one game left. Let's get to it. Probably not a lot to break down in this one. We have the Anaheim Ducks going into Colorado. Anaheim has a 2.1 implied goal total. Colorado has a 3.4 implied goal total. We thought the Avs might get some players back, guys like Byram and Makar and Comfort, but it looks like it's going to be at least one more game before we get those guys back. So it's pretty much the same lineup as last time for them. Surprise, surprise, Anaheim mixed around their lines a little bit last game, and we're not going to know exactly what they are this game, even though we can probably assume Getzlaf and Comtois are going to stay together and Henrik and Silverberg are going to stay together. Anaheim has been targeted lately as cheap filler for popular stacks, but they're playing the team that's going to be the popular stack here tonight. So what do you like, Josh?
Yeah, this is a Colorado game for me. We haven't had a good old Colorado won or log out slate in a while, and hopefully it's tonight. But yeah, so this Getzlaf Comtois pairing is going to be together. Probably going to see Colorado won. If Ricard Raquel is on that line has been an extremely high event both ways. 18 high danger chances for per 60 and 18 high danger chances against per 60. 2.89 expected goals for, 3.05 expected goals against. So listen, like Colorado one's one of those matchup proof teams where you're like, okay, this is a bad matchup, but I still want to play them. This is a good matchup. They're expensive, but they're not as expensive as Boston. They're not on the road. They're in a good matchup. I think, this is obviously going to be a very chalky spot, but I think there is a bunch of ways to differentiate yourself tonight because it is not a very obvious secondary stack. I think there's a whole bunch of secondary stacks you can put with them. I really like Colorado one. I really like Colorado power play. And as a cheap filler, if you are using like a Pittsburgh one or even a Boston one, or you want a Josh stack or you want a 5-man, 6-man, do whatever. I think Colorado 3 against the bottom 6 of the Ducks is a nice filler. Yost Donskoy is on power play too. So this is all about Colorado for me. I think, on the Ducks side, I'm going to be pretty underweight because I'm going to be pretty overweight on the Avs. I think even without their defenseman back. I think the Avs are still a very good defensive team. So this is a really bad matchup for the Ducks. If you want to have, like a Silfverberg one-off or a Zegras, Henrique, something like that after together, I think's okay. But for me, I'm going to be pretty much underweight on the Ducks and all in on the Avs.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't have much from Anaheim. I think I'm going to be playing some John Gibson, Cam Fowler, those types of plays, but that's about it. Anaheim has one of the worst penalty kills in the league in the last 10. I don't think that's a big surprise. Colorado, too, is what jumped out to me a little bit here. 63% expected goal share this year, 2.4 expected goals for, 3.5 actual goals for. Colorado, too, is actually one of my favorite. Like they're a filler stack. Like I put them in like with my Dallas, in my Carolinas and stuff like that. You can't fit them in elsewhere, but I do like Colorado too in this matchup. But for me, it's mostly all about Colorado 1 and that power play. Again, not much from the Anaheim side. I'm not playing Miska. You playing Gibson?
I mean, I'm as big as a Gibson guy as there is, and I'm probably going to fade him tonight.
Yeah, I hear you.
I probably have a couple, but
all right. Yeah, I hear you. We are just about out of time. Before we get out of here, Josh, I'm going to give the viewers a value stack and a hat trick pick for tonight. I'll tell you that the value stack I like the most, depending if you want to call them a value stack or not, but I do like Arizona 1 as a cheap, very low-owned stack here tonight. And my hat trick pick for the slate is Andrei Svechnikov.
So my stack would be the Detroit 1. I know I'm going to send Whiskers into a tailspin, but sorry. And then my hat trick pick is going to be I never know. Rupe Hintz if he's in.
All right, Rupe Hintz if he's in. Andrei Svechnikov for me. And that'll do it for today's show. For Tyler, our producer, for Josh, our Blue Shell Jedi Master. This is Michael Clifford, a.k.a. Slim Cliffy, saying good luck tonight, everybody.